Has Will Smith's big comeback already collapsed before it even started? That's the question fans are asking right now after a wave of new controversy hit him during what was supposed to be his return to music. Instead of celebrating his shows, people online began dissecting his crowds, claiming that the cheering faces looked suspiciously fake. Some even suggested that clips from his concerts showed generated or copy-pasted audiences, almost like something out of a video game rather than a real arena. Whether that's true or not, the rumors spread like wildfire. And for someone already walking a tightrope after years of public backlash, this was the last thing Smith needed. But here's where it gets interesting. The fake crowd accusations are only part of the story. To really understand why people are questioning whether his career can ever bounce back, you have to look at everything that's been happening since that infamous Oscars night in 2022. Let's start with the most recent drama. During Smith's latest performances, fans began noticing something strange. In several clips circulating online, the crowds cheering him on seemed almost too perfect. Identical faces, stiff reactions, even people who appeared in one frame but seemed slightly off in the next. This led to accusations that parts of his audiences were computer-generated or digitally edited to make the shows look more successful than they actually were. Now, nobody has proven this beyond doubt, but on social media, perception often becomes reality. Side-by-side comparisons posted by fans fueled the speculation, with some calling it a desperate move to mask a weak turnout. For a celebrity already fighting to prove he can still pull massive crowds, the rumor itself did real damage. Even if the footage was just glitchy or taken out of context, the conversation shifted from his music to whether his team was staging support. And once that doubt sets in, it's very hard to erase. But as messy as that sounds, this was just the latest chapter in a much longer struggle. Everyone remembers the moment Will Smith walked on stage at the 2022 Academy Awards and slapped comedian Chris Rock in front of millions of viewers. It wasn't just shocking, it was career-defining. Almost overnight, Smith went from one of Hollywood's most beloved stars to a symbol of celebrity excess and lack of control. Public opinion turned fast. Reports suggest he lost more than half his active fan base in the months following the incident. And even those who forgave him said his image was permanently altered. The apology videos, the emotional statements, they never seemed to land with the same impact as the original slap. And in Hollywood, where reputation is currency, that kind of stain doesn't fade easily. Studios pulled back on projects, endorsements disappeared, and fans stopped looking at him the same way. Which brings us to now. Every move Smith makes is judged against that night, and when he tries to step back into the spotlight, people still see the man who couldn't control himself at the biggest event of his career. That's the shadow hanging over everything he does, including his new music venture. Instead of rushing back into blockbuster films, Will Smith decided to take a different route: music. It made sense in theory. Long before he was a global movie star, he was a Grammy-winning rapper. A return to his roots could have been framed as a fresh start, a way to reconnect with fans on a personal level. But it didn't exactly play out that way. The concerts were supposed to mark his big return, but between the fake crowd rumors and the lukewarm reception, critics said the shows felt more staged than authentic. And when fans raised concerns, Smith didn't brush it off. He addressed it head-on. Instead of letting his performance speak for itself, he began defending himself in interviews and statements, sometimes sounding more defensive than inspiring. That shift in tone made it harder for fans to buy into the comeback. People wanted to see confidence and artistry, but what they saw was someone worried about perception. And in the entertainment world, once people sense desperation, they lose interest. Still, it was what Smith said next that really split the fan base. As criticism grew, Smith began making public statements about how unfairly he felt treated. He argued that fans and the media didn't appreciate the sacrifices entertainers make, claiming that people like him give so much to society, only to be ridiculed and torn apart. He even admitted that the backlash left him depressed, saying it hurt to see once loyal fans abandon him. The problem? Many saw these comments as tone-deaf. Instead of showing humility and acknowledging past mistakes, he seemed to be painting himself as the victim of an ungrateful public. Some compared his remarks to the controversial comments made by actress Rachel Zegler, who also framed criticism as a sign that audiences simply didn't understand what actors endure. To regular fans working 9-to-5 jobs, hearing a millionaire celebrity complain about sacrifices came across as entitled and self-centered. Whether that was Smith's intention or not, it fueled the perception that he was out of touch with the people who once loved him. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, politics entered the picture. Reports suggest that Smith went further, blaming cultural shifts and even political divisions for his decline in popularity. At one point, he hinted that critics of his career were being influenced by broader cultural narratives, pointing fingers instead of taking accountability. For many fans, this was the last straw. They weren't walking away because of political ideologies. They were walking away because of his actions, his responses, and his inability to move forward without deflecting blame. But Smith's comments reinforced the idea that he was shifting responsibility anywhere but himself. And once again, the backlash grew. In an age where celebrities are expected to take responsibility, Smith seemed to be doing the opposite. This left many wondering, if he couldn't own up to his past mistakes, how could he possibly move past them? But even with the public divided, there's still the question of where his career goes from here. Despite the controversies, Will Smith isn't disappearing. Behind the scenes, there are rumors about his potential involvement in Men in Black 5, though negotiations at Sony are reportedly complicated by concerns over his public image. Hollywood studios know he's still a global name, but they also know audiences can turn quickly. Until something solid is confirmed, Smith seems to be putting most of his energy into music, hoping it will hold him over until the right film project comes along. But that raises another question. Is music enough to carry him back into cultural relevance? Or does it just highlight how far he's fallen from blockbuster dominance? Every move he makes now is under the microscope, and while some fans want to see him rise again, others are convinced his time has passed. The truth is, his next big project could either cement his comeback or prove the critics right once and for all. So where does this leave Will Smith? On one hand, he insists he's a good person at heart who's been unfairly painted as the villain. On the other, his defensive responses, victim mentality, and inability to fully move past the Oscar slap keep reopening old wounds. His story right now feels less like a comeback and more like a constant battle with perception. But here's the bigger question. Is he truly finished in the public eye? Or is this just another chapter in a Hollywood redemption arc? We've seen stars fall hard before, only to rise higher than ever when the timing was right. Will Smith's legacy may depend on whether he can transform his setbacks into something authentic, or whether audiences have already decided they've seen enough.